والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صدق الله العظيم. We begin with the praise of our Lord, the Creator, the Provider, the Sustainer, the King of Kings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we send peace and blessings upon the greatest creation of all, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, and we also send blessings upon the Ahlul Bayt, the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhu ajma'een, the Tabi'een, the Taba Tabi'een, the awliya, the pious and the righteous. May Allah be pleased with them all. Now, as part of the etiquette, you were told to obviously constantly or get your mind in the right state of intention and to remember the three keys. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, He can see me, and He can hear me. And it's not through by chance or accident that you are sat here tonight. You could have been sat anywhere else, at home with friends, watching the football, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted you here tonight. Now, the topic is short, but very relevant, and the topic is about fame. Now, we all probably understand the meaning of fame, even probably a little child will understand the meaning. And the literal meaning of that is, it is the state of being known or talked about by many people. So that's the literal definition of fame. And it encompasses two parts: that the state of being known by others and being talked about by many people. Now, we are all on some form of social media, be it Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever it is, and really this has taken this concept of fame to a new level. And whereas in my day children may have wanted to be a football player, an actor, a racing car driver, you hear now children that they want to be a YouTube star. And so therefore it's affecting children already. But this concept of fame, this concept of being known, is affecting Muslims. And how is it affecting Muslims? That they are using Islam for fame purposes. So it's not what they do in their spare time or what kind of hobby they got. They're actually using their own religion for the purposes of fame. Now, I'm not saying it's all bad. I mean, I believe there are many videos of, I think they call them hijab queens or something like that. There are many females who can teach you how to wear the hijab and the various methods and etc., etc. And I believe they have many followers. You also have imams, peers, alims, teachers, whatever terminology you want to use. They will say things just to be controversial, because when you're in that fame game, it's all about the numbers. You want the most likes, you want it to be shared more. There's a question here: is fame good or bad? I've not brought any chocolates, but who's got an answer for that? Brother Zaki, do you think it's good or bad?
Fame's normally associated with your ego, so it can't really be a good thing. But then again, you can become famous without having the fame. Depends how you regard it.
He's absolutely right. So we mustn't think all fame is bad. There's an element of goodness to it. And yes, he's right that fame is almost the precursor to the problems of the ego, the nafs, the pride. And if one can keep, as with most things, in balance, they will probably do well. But the problem we all have is that we never keep things in balance. It's either one extreme or the other. And we all have to be truthful to ourselves. We all desire fame. We all desire respect. We all want to be praised. It's a naturally human feeling. This is enough. We all want that. And it's almost an innate feeling, as he said. And people, when they are praising, well, it's a natural feeling. Of course I'm going to feel good. To want that as well, I'm good as well. But who do we want this fame? Who do we want this respect? Who do we want to be known by? Is it the people or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And like with many things, we have the Quran and the Sunnah and the Hadith often guides us, and this is reported in Sunan al-Tirmidhi. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, 2 hungry wolves sent against a flock of sheep cannot cause more damage to them than one's eagerness for wealth and prominence does damage to their religious commitment. So the everyday meaning of that is, I'm not sure how many of you watch them nature programs when you see a lion or wolves attacking the deer, etc., etc., and we see the state of what happens to that deer or that animal which is being ripped to shreds by them. And what the Prophet ﷺ is saying is our eagerness for wealth and prominence, which is to be known, fame, does more damage than them wolves are doing to them sheep. So the Prophet ﷺ is giving us a clear warning there. And of course, you can use that fame in a positive sense, and there are many that do. We will all be aware of various people on the various social media platforms who do bring benefit to the people. But equally, we will all be aware of probably many more examples where it's led to people compromising themselves because of their fame. Because they feel they have to have a certain persona, a certain thing. They may not speak out against certain things. They may only speak about certain things because they want to keep that persona up on social media. And like with anything, if you have a position of authority or prominence, then alhamdulillah, but with that becomes more responsibility. And we will all accept that any imam from any masjid has a higher position of authority and prominence. And if we saw a normal person filling in the lottery numbers on a Wednesday or Saturday night, and we saw an imam, we'd probably make more comment about the imam than we would about the normal person. We'd go and tell 10 people. Not that I'm saying any imams, I've not seen any imams play the lottery. The basis of this concept of fame and prominence is there's really one ground rule. You mustn't seek out such a role. So one should never set out that I want to be famous, I want this, which means am I going to use it? Even in Islam and any position you want to do, be it a teacher, a ustad, a da'i, you need to have mentors and teachers to guide you. Your intention shouldn't be, well, I want to be known now. I want to be known as the person bringing many many people to Islam in Nelson. That's what I want to do, and I'm going to go and do. And you may go and set up a stall in Nelson Town Centre on a Saturday, but your purpose shouldn't be that I want that position. Yes, we all want to do good, but we mustn't confuse that with thinking, well, I want that position. And like with anything, the end never justifies the means in Islam. So it's not a case of, well, okay, I will do something on YouTube or social media. Normally, I may not agree with it, it's not preferable, but the purpose is to attract more people to Islam, present this positive image, as he said, and we go too far. And those who are in the spotlight, again, we know examples. We should take a balanced approach as to how we criticize those, because they are just human beings, most of these people. They have the same capacity to sin and mistake like we do. Yet, when they do it, we're like a ton of bricks on them. And I'll give the example of the Imam playing the lottery. I'm sure that if that happened, there would be one person who probably takes a photo, and by the end of the day, it will be circulated on WhatsApp groups, etc., etc. Oh, look at this. Yet, there's probably hundreds of Muslims who play the lottery every day. We won't even bat an eyelid. So really, yes, we're not saying nobody should criticize these people, but balance should be achieved, because yes, they are in the public eye, and they may have done a lot of good before that, and it's on that basis you have to balance this out. Another hadith reported in Muslim, Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu reported, and this is about three people. Some of you will no doubt have heard this hadith. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Verily, the first people to be judged on the day of resurrection will be a man who was martyred. He will be brought, the blessings of Allah will be made known, and he will acknowledge them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, 'What did you do about them?' And he will say, 'I fought in your cause until I was martyred.' And unfortunately, in the modern day, especially even in this country, we've had the recent examples of the terror attacks where, again, I'm not making judgment on these people, but they appear to have randomly stabbed random strangers in London for no particular reason. Now, they may say, well, we was fighting in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they both got shot by the police, so effectively they may say they were martyred. Again, I'm not judging their intention, I don't know what their intention was. But there will be people, there will be martyrs, people who we may regard as shaheed, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, you have lied, for you only fought only that it would be said you were brave. So you wanted to be known as a shaheed, you wanted people to say, he is a brave lion, look at him, he has, given his life for deen. The other example given in the hadith is the man who studied religious knowledge, taught others, became a qari, and again, he will be brought before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. And again, he will say, I learned religious knowledge, I taught others, I recited the Quran for your sake. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, you've lied, because you only became a scholar so you would be known to people. People would praise you. You only became a qari because you wanted the likes, you wanted 1 million followers. The people, again, who do not, again, if their intention isn't pure, that's all well and good. But again, if they're doing it for fame, for money, anything else, they will be brought forward on the Day of Judgment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, you lied. And the third example given in this hadith is that another man was given an abundance of blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and every kind of wealth. And again, he will be brought before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he will say, I did not leave any good cause beloved to you, but that I spent it on for your sake. And again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have lied. You only did it so you would be known by people, so they could say, look at him, he's a generous man. Isn't he good? And so all these three people will be brought forward, and there will be people lined up watching these. The same people that they were trying to impress, that they recited the Quran for, that they wanted to be known by them. And the hellfire waits for them. And what happens, our blessed teacher, Shaykh Ahmed Dabag, said that these three types of people, and these are just not three peoples, these are just three categories. There will no doubt be hundreds, thousands, millions, who knows, in these categories. and they will be dragged by the angels to the fire upside down. So the feet will be in the air and the head will be dragged along the ground. And just before that, before this happens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, you did this for all these people who are stood here. You wanted their recognition, their fame. Go to them and get your reward off them now. So all these types of people will go to these people and say, I did this for you, can I have my reward? And say, you didn't do it for me. And everyone will be saying, I've got my own problems, I've got my own issues, I've got my own sins. And after that, they are dragged in front of these people, head being dragged along the floor, they are being degraded and humiliated. Remember, these are the people that they've done these acts, charity, become a qari, a da'i, religious knowledge, martyrdom, and in front of the same people they will be getting degraded and humiliated. So the very same people that they probably spent a large portion of their life trying to impress, trying to gain recognition with them, it's the same people who are now saying, I'm not giving you any reward, and you're in fact being humiliated in front of them. Really what this hadith gets at is that whilst the outer may look good, and the shaheed, he will be a shaheed. We don't know his inner state. But we will say, Alhamdulillah, mashallah, he was a shaheed. A qari, we will say, mashallah, his recitation is beautiful, his tajweed is beautiful, etc., etc. The scholars, the imams, the alims, the generous people of this world, the ones who give charity, the ones whose names are read out in mosque, giving charity. We know from the outside, Alhamdulillah, these people look good. But we don't know if there is a pearl inside them or not. Was it done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or was it done for the dunya's sake? Were they, when they undertaking these actions, doing it for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or again, was it for show? And really, when we talk about these other people, we should look at ourselves, because there are many actions we do where outwardly it may look very good, but we all should be true to ourselves, and we should know that sometimes we do things for fame, for being known. There's not many people in this world who would say that I don't do anything for that. Consciously or even subconsciously, we are doing things that we are known by others, be it close family, friends, neighbours, work colleagues, whatever it is. We will do things at work because we want to impress our boss, because we want a pay rise, a promotion. We will, let's say you have a boss who's not there all the time, and when he is in that day, everyone starts working. They're not surfing the internet, they're not going on their phone. They're all trying to impress him. Now, people know that this bayan is always put on the Nelson Tariqa Muhammadiyya YouTube page. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite and sat here that when them videos are up of myself, have I looked at how many views have come? And even when I'm sat here, there may be an inclination, why is this mosque not full? Why are there not people queuing outside for me? Why is it? And that thought comes. To say that thought doesn't come, I'd be a hypocrite. But really, one has to then look at their original intention and refresh that. Why am I sat here? Am I doing it for fame? Am I doing it for being known by people? Or am I here to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I make dua and I like to think I'm doing it for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether there is nobody here, one person here, 10 people here, 100 people here, my action shouldn't change. Same with the YouTube likes, whether we get 1 like, 5 likes, 50, 100, whatever it is, we shouldn't be looking at that. But yes, we will all look at that. People who put photos on Facebook, they often see how many likes are given. Why do we do that? If you're putting a photo up for whatever purposes on Facebook, are you bothered if you get 1 like, 10 likes, 10 comments? But really we are looking at that. We put that photo up in the first place because we want to show it to the outside world. And when we want to show it outside the world, we want people to like it. We should really all be searching for acts which will not receive the appreciation of people. And we know the examples of Qiyamul Layl, the night prayer, the HAJI. These are acts which are often done in seclusion. Your family members may not necessarily know that you are doing it, but that is a true test. So look for any of these acts which are hidden. You will know about the hadith regarding charity, that when charity is given, the right hand is not seen by the left hand giving charity effectively. And I'm not saying that people who do publicize charity, again, there is a hadith covering that, but it comes to intention. If your intention is, for example, there is a mosque fundraising event and, they say, Brother Zach has given £500. What's his intention? Is it because he wants his name to be known? Or is he trying to encourage others to give? If it's the latter, alhamdulillah, that's allowed. But if it's the former, then anyone in that position should really be refreshing their intention, because if you're giving that money to the mosque just so that your name is read out and because the mosque is full and people know that you're giving £500, then really you're doing it for that prominence and nothing else. And as I said, there's many acts you can do in seclusion, in private, not tell others. You give charity, you can feed the homeless. No, I'm not saying it's wrong to publicise such acts, especially if you're running an organisation as such. But if it's simply done, the publicity is given simply to encourage others, alhamdulillah. But be very careful, because, we shouldn't cross that bridge where we think, well, I want people to show, or I want people to know that I have fed 10 homeless people today, I have done this, I have built a water well in Pakistan, India, Africa, I have built a masjid, etc., wherever it is. Constantly, you should check and refresh that intention. Because again, your intention at the start may have been pure, but note that the shaitan can corrupt it anyway, at any stage. And really, our desire, our need, our want should be that if we want to be known, we want to be recognized, then it should be by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And if that is our intention, He knows you already, because He's closer than you than the jugular vein. He's constantly with you. He knows exactly every second of the day, every millisecond, every thought, every action, every movement you do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about it. He's not there for 1 hour a day just to see what you're doing on social media or anything like that. He's constantly there. And you may fool yourself, your family, your friends, the wider public. Look at me, I'm a generous person. I pray 5 times a day, I do this, I do that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who really knows what you're doing behind them closed doors. What are you doing in the depths of the night? Are you getting up with Fajr when there's 20 minutes left before sunrise? Or whether you're getting up an hour beforehand? And when you have that intention that I only want to do these acts and be known by and recognized by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you want to run away from this worldly recognition, watch how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you. So you will have recognition with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but He'll also give you recognition on the dunya. We seem to do the opposite. We want recognition of dunya first, and probably we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we see death approaching, when we get into our older years like myself. That's when we think, now we need to start doing things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas 30, 40, 50 years of our life, we've been trying to seek the pleasure of dunya, the recognition of the community. I want to be known in the community. I want to sit on the first saf. I want people to invite me to weddings, social events, dawats, etc., etc. Remember, Fame is an illusion. It's temporal. In reality, it's nothing. And as you said, the worldly saying is that, everyone can have their 15 minutes of fame. It doesn't say you're going to be famous your whole life. We give the example of a footballer. They may be very famous, but eventually there'll come a time they're not so famous. People won't recognize them. The young kids who are born following today, they might not know who Ryan Giggs is. We may recognize him, but the kids of today will not. Now, if you are put in a position where you have the ability to do good, and be that in any position, be it an Islamic position or a worldly position, and remember, we often think there's a split that if you're in an Islamic position, you can gain reward, but your daytime job cannot be reward worthy. Yes, if you set out every morning for the intention of earning risk for your family and helping people in any shape or form, be it a doctor, an admin person, or whatever it is, then you're getting reward for that. So we often think we're not in positions where we can benefit people, but we are. But if we are in any position, be it at work or in an Islamic context, yes, praise may come your way. And again, praise is often given. It's given to encourage people, to keep them steadfast. And we are all receptive to praise. But equally, if you're in that position, then if you're receptive to praise, you should be receptive to criticism. Because we'll all take praise, but as soon as criticism comes, it's hand up, go away, you're wrong, I'm right. And really, if you're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake originally, then you should take that criticism. Because ultimately, you know what you're doing it for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you're doing it for. If your intention is pure, whether you get praise or criticism shouldn't matter to you. But when we get criticism, issues start happening. Our backs, we get our back up. Why? Why would you get your back up? Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you're doing and you know why you're doing it, it should be relevant as to what people are saying. Especially, we look in our communities, this love of status, Jan Peshan in our country, in our community. We all want izzat, respect in the community. And I'm not saying it's wrong to have that or haram in any shape or form, but why do we desire that so much? Why do we want to be known by others so much? We really should look at that in ourselves. And any person who is in any kind of position, be that a doctor, a lawyer, an alim, a prime minister, an MP, councillors, they really should be looking at that. What are their intentions if they are in them positions? Yes, most of these positions are paid. You get a worldly benefit and nothing wrong with that. But often, I have read both many prime ministers, presidents, people know Tony Blair, David Cameron, George Bush. They've constantly said that we wanted to put our place in history. We wanted to have our position in history. Not that they are known today, they are very famous, but people who read 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years' time, that they will be known that they did X, Y, Z. And I recall Tony Blair saying that he went to the Iraq war because he wanted to be known to get rid of this tyrant. Now we all know what happened and what is happening today. But he did it because he wanted his place in history. He wanted to be known. And anybody who's in a position of authority, as he said, should really look at their intention. Why are they doing it? What benefit are they hoping to get? Is it worldly or is it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do I want to become an MP so I can stand up in the Houses of Parliament? Do I want to be known so I can put them letters after my name? Or do I want to try to help people, both in worldly and Islamic areas? Or do we stay quiet about the Islamic stuff because that may not be popular or what people want to be heard. And we have many examples, as I said, people in these positions, the responsibility comes higher. They will have a higher duty upon them. And I give the examples of MP. I think when the law came in about homosexuality in this country, or the marriages, all the Muslim MPs abstained. They didn't say vote for it, yes, but they didn't say no. Now the position of Islam is clear on homosexuality. Nobody's saying that we don't deny the right to people being homosexual, especially in this country, but they abstained on it. Will they not get asked about that? They were in a position of authority. You had English MPs who were Christian who were voting no for it, yet our own Muslim MPs were not doing it. They're in a position, they have that position, they have that prominence, yet what purpose are they using it for? If it's not for the sake of Allah and trying to seek His pleasure, what good is it going to be to them? No one's going to count votes on the Day of Judgment. There's no ballot boxes. And this concept of respect, when family, friends, neighbours disrespect you, what happens? We have issues in our families. We have issues with our neighbours. We have issues with our friends, because when we feel disrespected by someone, we take it personally, like we have a right to that respect. Yes, our mother, our father, our siblings there are rights in Islam, but we should distinguish these rights and distinguish them from worldly needs. And many family disputes are based on, he didn't call me to this wedding, he didn't call me to this, he didn't attend my thing, and they feel disrespected. And it comes back to that same point. We want these positions, fame, respect, standing within the community, but we can't take criticism, condemnation at the same time. And really there are 4 states in relation to a person who is praised and who criticizes them. The first one is that a person may be delighted with praise and thank that person who's praising him. He hates condemnation, hates anyone who criticizes him, and not only that, will take retaliatory action. So if one of you brothers criticizes me, I might go and backbite against you to other people because you've criticized me, I've taken it personally, I've taken it offense, and I will hate you for it. But not only that, we'll go one step further. I will then start making sure that I backbite against you in a way to get revenge on you. And really, this state is one of the worst states that we can have. And people like myself, we need to check whether we are in this state or not. The next state is a person who, again, is condemned and may inwardly resent that person, but refrains from saying anything to him or doing anything in retaliation. So the same situation before, you are criticized, you may not agree with that criticism, you don't accept it, but you keep it within yourself. You don't show that offense or whatever it is to that person, to their face, neither will you tell others about it. And similarly, if you're praised by this person, but equally again, you don't, for example, do anything to that person, i.e., if a particular brother praises me, I'm more likely to shake his hand when I see him in the street as opposed to someone who criticizes me. So really, again, that same person doesn't show any extra love because he's getting praised, because that's what we shouldn't be doing. If somebody praises me, I shouldn't think, oh, well, that person is good because he praises me, so I'll do more with him. Yet the other brother who criticized me, he has criticized me, I don't agree with it, so I'm going to not do as much as with him. That shouldn't be the distinguishing factor in our relationships. And I think we all probably know, again, examples in family where we may be close with certain relatives because it's reciprocal. You know, they are good with us, we are good with them. But the opposite is when there are issues with families and they are not so good or they don't come around so often, we do the same, we reciprocate on that basis. Now, there are the last 2 positions are the positions we should all be aiming for. And really, this third position is whether you're praised or condemned. That praise neither affects you, neither does the condemnation. So really, you're neutral in respect of praise or condemnation. It doesn't affect you either way. And really, that is, at least for people like myself, the state we should be trying to get to. That neither praise, neither criticism affects me. Whether there's one person attending this majalis or 100 or 1,000, or one person sees my video or 1,000, it shouldn't affect me either way. The last state is really that if you're praised by somebody, you hate that person. I'm maybe using the wrong terminology, you don't like that person. Why? Because you know that when he praises you, it could open that door to ego, pride, etc., etc. So you necessarily do not like that person because he praises you. And you realize that the praise could open that door to the pride, the ego, the nafs, ultimately then damaging your own iman. And this state is that the person who actually condemns you, you love him. Why? Because most of the time when we are criticized, I'm not saying they're right 100% of the time, but in any given situation, even if you take the example, half the time they're right and half the time they're wrong. What are they doing when they're right? They're identifying defects in you. So these people are identifying defects in you. You may not accept it, you may not like it, but we all have to accept we've got defects. That we must accept. Now, if we accept we've got defects, who is going to recognize these defects? It's probably hard to look in the mirror ourselves and see our inner state and recognize these defects. Our defects are known in our dealings with people. And so when we have dealings with people and people criticize us, condemn us for a particular issue or a particular act we've done, it's likely that you have that defect. And so in that state, you should love that person because he's doing you a favor. You may not appreciate it on this dunya, but if you can at least rectify that defect, you'll be praising that person on the Day of Judgment because he possibly stopped you sinning with a certain attitude and made you change. And so therefore, this is one of the high states that we can obviously get to. So we flip it around, not what the dunya says, we love the person we praise, and we push away the person who criticizes, the opposite way. And as I said, to get to that stage, we have to get to that stage of first neutrality. The praise or condemnation doesn't affect me. And so really, just in summary, any act, anything you do on a daily basis, constantly refresh that intention. Why am I doing it? Do I want prominence? Am I going somewhere just because people are going there? Am I going to a janazah today because he was a popular person or that everyone's going to be there, I can be seen there as well? Am I giving charity for the sake of Allah purely, or am I because my name will only be read out in mosque and people will know who I am? Am I sitting in the front row so then people think I'm more pious than others? I'll get there early just to sit on the front row because then people think because I'm on the front row next to the imam, close to the imam, I'm somebody pious. Many, many more issues on a daily basis we do where we can be affected by this issue of fame, prominence, wanting to be known, our actions to be known. If I've said anything wrong or not in accordance with Islam, I seek forgiveness from my errors, and all goodness comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.